we're doing really well on $1 million picks.
No, I'm not.
We won $551,000 last week. We are up $1.764 million.
It's pretty good.
This is one of my favorite weeks of the year. It almost scares me a little. There's just, it's playing all the hits for me. I love good to decent teams, 3 points or under. I love Mike Tomlin getting points. You could probably guess what my picks are going to be. There's like an easy teaser. So we'll go through some of it. Steelers, Eagles. Steelers plus 5.5. I'll let you take the floor because I heard what you said on the Ringer Gambling Show today, and you had a couple points on this game that I just wholeheartedly agreed with. Do your what good defenses Philly played thing.
Yeah, well, I went through their list of wins, and please don't misunderstand. A 9-game winning streak is outstanding. It's excellent. But when you go through the teams that they've beat, I don't think you can get to a top 10 defense. I think you're hard-pressed to get to a top 15 defense. Now, they
Wait, can I give them quick?
Please.
Cleveland, Giants, Cincy, Jaguars, Cowboys, Washington, Rams, Baltimore, Carolina. And it's not like they were throwing up 40 points a game either against those defenses, but that speaks to like just nobody even remotely approaching what Pittsburgh has.
Yeah, and I guess Cleveland would be the best out of that group, but right. So the thing about Pittsburgh and why I think it's going to be a shock to the system is their ability to bring a pass rush that these Eagles have not seen this entire season. And the Steelers are really rounding into form in terms of, their quick pressure rate, their ability to disrupt, and they have health at the linebacker position, both Herbig and Alonzo Highsmith healthy. And I just think, so we already know that this Eagles defense is one-dimensional. They are the least passing team in the NFL, the fewest number of attempts and completions in the entire NFL. Jalen Hurts and this Eagles passing defense.
31st in a passing league that has some horrible quarterbacks. They're 31st out of 32.
So you want to give this Steelers defense a one-dimensional look? Do you think that they'll load the box and say, please try and run on us? And, I think this is finally a matchup where the Eagles' very excellent offensive line, again, don't misunderstand me, they're going to meet their match in terms of what this Steelers defensive front seven can bring to the table.
And Pittsburgh has a way better special teams.
Yes.
Like Pittsburgh has one of the preeminent special teams of this decade. The season Boswell's having, I think Boswell might be having the greatest fantasy football season by a kicker in the last 15 years. I had him on the vote out league that I'm in with Sal and Hench and those guys. And I didn't make the playoffs. My team sucked. And I felt bad. I almost felt like sending Boswell a letter.
Well,
I'm sorry I let you down. You did everything you could. This wasn't your fault, Boswell.
You should have figured out a way to put him on a contender. I mean, I understand the dynamics that are at work, but like, is John Hamm still alive? He could have done something nice for you.
He might have over 200 fantasy points this year.
Just outrageous.
Like that's like the kickers don't do that. The top kicker is usually 160, 170. So they have him, the Tomlin factor. Tomlin as an underdog. Philly's first rushing offense. Pittsburgh's fourth against the run in the entire league.
Yeah, it's great.
And the only thing that worries me is the Pickens part. That's it.
Sure.
They're not going to have Pickens.
That's a viable concern. And you're not imagining a game script here where Pittsburgh tries to get the ball way down the field, which has been, one of their pathways to success with Russell Wilson. He's been throwing a very nice deep ball, but that's not the way. The way that they win this game is field position, special teams, defense, long drives.
Under. You're just laying out unders left and right.
You're absolutely right.
I think this has been a season about the general public underestimating things. And Pittsburgh is like the leader of the pack with that. People have underestimated them before the season. As the season was going, people kept looking for reasons. And then this is the most offensive line of them all. Like the Eagles could win and win by 14. I still think the line's offensive. I think it's a 3-point game. I can't believe it's 5.5, especially with how the Eagles looked last week, barely beating Carolina, having some sniping after the game. And this is like where Pittsburgh loves to be. Like it's going to be, the weather's not going to be that bad, but it's a Pennsylvania game. So not long travel. And to me, it just feels like a 20-16, 19-16, 21-20.
Perfect.
So I was looking at different bets. Like the other thing is the Steelers are 5.5. So Vegas is like, we don't know. We're throwing this to the Vegas zone. Steelers plus 4.5 on FanDuel is even money.
Okay.
Steelers plus 5.5 is like minus 113. If you do Steelers plus 4.5 with an under of 45.5, that's plus 198. It's almost 2-1.
Great.
And I guess my question to you is, so how many points become unrealistic for a game like this? Because we if we don't think the Eagles are going to be able to run the ball, that might actually lead to more long passes. But I don't think the Steelers are going to be able to get the same explosive plays that they used to have. So the model for them to win is just run the ball, control it, try to wear the Eagles out. And then on defense, the Eagles stubbornly try to run against them for a half. It doesn't work. And then maybe it opens up second half. But I was looking at that. Steelers plus 5.5, under 47.5 is plus 163.
Another great one. As many of these as you want to do, I'm here for it.
Steelers win the game outright with under 45.5 is plus 328. So there's some
great
good ones. But normally my instinct would be to pull the Steelers up over 7. I think in this one, like this feels like a 3-point game to me. And they've played these games all year, and I think they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. And this might be a team they see in the Super Bowl, FYI.
I couldn't agree more with any of your handicapper assessment there. I want to just add a couple other layers. You mentioned the special teams thing. Tell me how many field goals Jake Elliott has made of 50 yards or longer this season.
Oh, God. Probably like 1.
The answer is none.
Wow.
0. He is 0 for 5. So if we're talking about, if we imagine a game script where it's tight, it's field position kind of game, those 50-yard field goals start to become important. And then the last sort of element of it is like, who do you trust more in a game like this, Nick Sirianni or Mike Tomlin? And, that for me matters.
What's the best unit in the game? And I would say it's Pittsburgh's defense. If Philly can run the ball on them, we'll know within a quarter and the game's probably over. But I think this feels like a close game. It feels like a field position game. Special teams will factor it in. And I like some combination of maybe it's all the way up to 47.5. Maybe it's Steelers plus 5.5 with the under 47.5, something like that.
Fine.
I think that's the move.
Fine.
Next one, Lions Bills. So this is Lions minus 2.5, which is just a complete FU to the Lions defense by everybody. People are like, you didn't fool us last week. Your team spent 38 seconds calling every play on offense and just doing everything they could to keep the defense off the field. And now you're going to play Josh Allen. We don't trust you. My counter is that the Rams showed what to do against Buffalo last week. They ran the ball. Then play action or quick passes, and they just got first downs and moved the ball. And Detroit has a better offense than the Rams do. They have a better offensive line. I don't know how Buffalo, I just feel like they're going to get pushed backwards the whole game. I think Buffalo's a team that needs the lead. And I think the Lions are just going to push him back. Maybe there's a scenario where Josh is chasing the cover late, but this defense looks like an awesome matchup for the Lions. So I'm more focused on their offense and less the defensive deficiencies. What are you looking at?
Yeah, so this is, again, kind of a razor thin coin flip kind of game. And so you're trying to find the teeny tiny slices that might tip it one way or the other. And, if you wanted to back the Bills and grab the points, you would talk about Detroit's secondary being susceptible to explosives. And the Bills are getting back both Coleman and Kincaid this week. They're supposed to both be ready to play. And we saw through the tremendous comeback against the Rams. Shakir was incredible. Allen is at the absolute peak of his powers. And if he is out of structure, you don't worry about Josh Allen out of structure getting the ball down the field. He is the best quarterback that Detroit will have faced this whole season with a pretty healthy offense. And I'm one of the things I'm interested in, I'm looking at it right now. James cooked these nuts over because I do think that they are going to try and establish a little run. We're going to go cook these nuts over 52.5 rushing yards, but that's just a side play for me.
So
that would be the case
but if
for
the
Buffalo.
Lions win this, what do you think? 30 points for them at least?
Oh, I mean, the points are going to be abundant. I don't.
So, and I don't want to do this, but I'm just saying, like, if you're taking the Lions, if you're like, I want to take the Lions plus 2.5, I would take Lions money line and do over 50.5, something like over 50.5 Lions money line is plus 206.
Sure.
I would do something like that. This is not going to be a 24-16 type of game. I think there's going to be points, but I feel like been a few times this year where Detroit's offense got discounted a little bit.
Okay.
Even Green Bay last Thursday night. We all love Green Bay. We ended up, actually, I think we ended up winning that bet.
We won our bet because it was, we got the 3.5.
Yeah. But Detroit, 34 points, probably could have more. To me, this is just don't overthink it. Lions are home. They need the game. That's the other thing. It's not like they have a 3-game lead in the NFC. Minnesota's 1 game behind them. And their offense is just way better than Buffalo's, even though Buffalo's offense is really good. But like Detroit's plus 27 in touchdowns this year. Buffalo's plus 18. Detroit's net yards. They've scored almost 1,000 more yards than the other team or gained 1,000 more yards. Buffalo's at 300. Buffalo's had weeks where they just looks like they're like that Baltimore game, the game last week where it just feels like you can go up and down the field in them. And I like the matchup for Detroit.
Here's the thing that really tips it for me. If it's a tight game, we're in the fourth quarter, and it's time to start doing some math about the most efficient way to produce an outcome. Yeah. We just watched it. Sean McDermott just has too many unforced errors in this regard. Yeah. And Dan Campbell never makes a mistake. It is like Dan Campbell and the Lions are at the same level as the Chiefs in terms of like, it's an end of game scenario and I've got it mapped out and I know the correct call to make. We might not execute and we might lose the game because of a failure to execute, but I know the call I'm going to make and it's the right call. And that's how we're going to win. McDermott just gets it wrong so many times, too often. And I don't want to be in that position of watching this great game back and forth, and the Bills have the ball, and dumb McDermott makes a dumb call, and then they're like, God damn it, why did I invest in this team?
Must not like Detroit really needs the game. Buffalo, they're either going to be the 2 or the 3 seed. There's urgency, but not like crazy amounts of urgency. Why, you think they could drop to 4?
No, I don't know if we're going to get to the Chiefs, but I'm not. After what we watched in that game of
you
Chiefs
think they
Sunday
get to
night,
the 1 seed?
No, yeah. I'm not ready to cross off that
bigger game for Detroit. Detroit has to win this game.
Fine, that's fine. Home game too. Campbell and Goff at home. Last couple seasons, incredible against the spread.
With that said, I hate betting against Josh Allen.
Sure.
More games that I like. Well, there's one I don't. That I stared at that I wanted to throw in. Chargers -3 at home against the Bucks. And I had them written down all week. I kept looking at it, kept looking at the injury report, and this seems like a week to stay away with the Chargers. There's something I don't like about it. The McConkey's not healthy. Dobbins is out. Herbert now has this sprained ankle situation again. And I feel like this line should be like Chargers by 4, and the books are trying to tell us something. The Bucks being a 3-point underdog, like they didn't even look good last week. So
right.
It's a stay away to me house.
Yeah, and it is 100% the injury uncertainty. It was trending in a way that let me go ahead and get a little bit down on the Chargers -3 because I think it's a great number for the reasons that you just laid out. I mean, the Bucks have a bunch of wins against nobody teams. They beat the Giants with Tommy DeVito. They beat Carolina in overtime.
They play in the NFC South.
Right. I mean, they handled the Raiders because Aiden O'Connell broke his leg. Like, there's a bunch of wins. Now, again, you win. You have to play the games that are in front of you on your schedule. Congrats to them. But brutal spot. What's the status of Bucky Irving? That will impact the handicap. And then what's the status? McConkey was running drills on Wednesday. So I started saying, well, this is part of why I went ahead and got down a little bit on that Chargers -3.
We're staying away.
You can't have Herbert under any circumstances impaired at all because the what Tampa has been doing these last 3 weeks very successfully against bad teams is blitz, 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 blitz. They've greatly increased their blitz rate, and it's been successful.
I know I'm coming on the Ringer Sunday pregame on Sunday. I could see being back in on the Chargers on Sunday. I'm not doing it now on a Thursday afternoon.
Great.
Here's a game I do love. Houston minus 2.5 against Miami.
Okay.
Texans off a bye. Miami's pass defense kind of getting semi-shredded by Aaron Rodgers, who's been done for 3 years. D'Amico Ryans versus Tua. Raheem talked about that on the Ringer Gambling Show today. There was a San Francisco game with Tua that was not awesome for Tua. Houston's defense, 7th against the pass, 2nd in sacks, 2nd in tackles for a loss. Most importantly, House, we're kind of due for a good CJ Stroud game. We're just due.
And I know that's overdue.
I know that's a goofy thing to say, but he's got his receivers back. Nico Collins is back. They're coming off a bye. It just feels like this is a first quarter where they come out swinging, make a couple big plays. They hit Tua a couple times. I don't think Miami's good. And I think to me, this is a gift of a line. This line should be Texans by 3.5. People don't trust Houston. I get it. I'm not even sure Houston's that good. But if they can't win this game, we might have to take their AFC South title, House. Just give it to somebody else.
Well, the Colts are sort of hovering around. Interesting matchup against the Broncos. But I understand your point with this Dolphins team. That I just can't unsee what the Jets did to them. It looked like, Devontae Adams was open on every play. It looked like Wilson was open on every play.
9-yard outs over and over again.
The secondary.
And Jalen Ramsey looked like shit in that game, didn't he?
Right. Yes. They put him on an island and they just cooked him. The Houston Texans do not deserve to be trusted, but I think we finally might be in a situation where you outlined it properly. We're not laying a ton of points. They're at home. It's off the bye. We're dying for a CJ Stroud game. And, we saw a version of Houston at the beginning of the season where Joe Mixon was super effective. We're like, oh, look at this. This Houston team might be an 11 or 12 win team. Yeah. They went through their injuries and stuff. Their offensive line is the issue. They can't really be trusted. But I like the spot for Houston. I'm in your direction on this.
You know what I like the most about this game? So if the Jets just finished the game last week, that stupid game that they gave away, and the Dolphins lose to the Jets last week, what's the line on this game?
Right. Exactly.
It's at least 3.5. It might even be 4.
Yep.
So instead, we're at 2.5 because the Jets just decided to actually have like a stroke on the field. They were so stupid. Houston's 4-1. Here's another reason to be suspicious of Houston. They're 4-1 against the South, a terrible division. They've also beaten the Bears, the Patriots, and the Cowboys. Yeah. So this might be the best win they have in a while.
Well, let me put this to you, because you'll go through the stats, and you mentioned them coming out fast. They are one of the top 5 teams in the NFL in terms of scoring in the first half.
Yeah.
And they don't have to lay very much in the first. We can look at the FanDuel Sportsbook to see what the first half spread is. They're one of the worst teams. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL in the second half.
I saw the second half stuff is terrible with them.
Right.
Yeah, I hate doing those first half.
You don't like the exotics.
No,
you don't want to split
it minus 1.5. We saved like a point,
Okay. All right.
Listen, you did make me think. Do you think Tua is good?
Yes, I do. I do think
really?
He's good.
So you're in the pro Tua camp.
I am a pro Tua guy. Yes.
I just can't get there.
Under the right circumstances. When he's playing either indoors or in Miami when it's 80 degrees, I think he's good. And I do think that the DJ has created a playlist for him. They're spinning some smooth sounds down there where he can be super effective with those weapons. But like under any kind of adverse conditions, as soon as they go outside, we watched it, forget about it.
Yeah. Well, or if he's getting pounded by the pass rush.
Yes.
Okay. Last straight up game, Seahawks Packers. Still the stupefying line to me of the week. The the lack of respect for Seattle. Pittsburgh and Seattle were the two. I was like, wow, why am I seeing this so differently? Seahawks are plus 2.5 at home against the Packers. I just don't get it. And you laid out the case on the gambling pod today, but I don't feel like the defense thing is a mirage. There was real reasons why they started to struggle defensively. All of their guys are back now. They're actually like playing really good defense. McDonald's been there for a while. They understand what he's trying to do. And then the other thing that jumped out, especially last week, is the blocking for their offensive line went from horrific to pretty passable. Like they ran the ball down the throats of Arizona last week. Their last 4 wins, they beat San Francisco, and they won 3 road games last 4 weeks at San Francisco, home Arizona, at the Jets at Arizona. The other thing I like, House, their third. They basically have the third best passing attack in the league, and that's been a weakness for Green Bay. So I'm trying to think of how Green Bay goes in there and just waltzes and beat them. It would have to be a pretty extraordinary Jordan Love game, and I think Seattle's defense can actually contain him.
Yeah, I mean, you went through those games that they won, including the road games. Those are all high leverage games. Those are all like season determining games. They lose like really any of those, they're probably out of the playoffs. And it's a real testament to McDonald. And they did get healthy at the right time. The bye couldn't have come at a better time for them. So since the bye, 50%, disruption rate. We saw it against the Cardinals.
You
Number
love that
one
stat.
impact. I do, because top 5 disruption. That means that they're going in and not letting the offense get itself set into a scheme that where they can execute what they have in mind, and that they're certainly not letting the quarterback get set up. But to me, you mentioned on the offensive side that they had a zone blocking scheme. We saw Zach Charbonnet look like the guy that was like, hey, look at him run the ball. That was really effective. It takes so much pressure off of Geno if they can run that way. And look, Geno from a clean pocket, 9 touchdowns. 2 picks. It's like the diametric opposite under pressure. 5 touchdowns, 10 picks. But the Packers don't generate any pressure. They're 22nd in pressure rate and 26th in pass rush win rate. So
pass rush?
You do it. You could do it.
Well, the last few games, they lost to Detroit twice. They came back and beat the Bears 20-19. Eberflus's last win. They killed the San Francisco in the game when, which was a good win for them, but also San Francisco had a ton of injuries. And then they beat Miami on that Thursday night. And I like the Packers. I think they're a good team, but
sure.
But I don't think they should be favored in Seattle. If it was the Seattle from 5 weeks ago, I get it, but not the Seattle we've watched last month. So to me, I think Seattle should be favored. And the rule is if you feel like you're getting so many more points than you thought you might be getting. Anyway, there's a couple things we can do with this. I think Seahawks money line is the play.
Oh, okay. Fine.
But Seahawks in a teaser is kind of fun.
That's one of my favorite legs of the week.
Seahawks minus 2.5 is plus 154.
Sure. Great. In.
So maybe that's the way to play it.
Yeah.
Maybe play the money line and then put them in a teaser. So teaser possibilities. I'm just insisting on one. The Chiefs are minus 4.5 against the Browns. So it's more of a money parlay than a teaser, but the Chiefs are only minus 4.5 in Cleveland. Bad weather. It's the Chiefs. Nobody trusts them anymore to cover anything. The Browns are horrible. The Browns should be 1. I went through their schedule. The Browns should be 1-12.
They're not horrible.
The Browns
are
are
horrible.
32nd in DVOA this year. They're last. They're dead last with DVOA. They're getting more and more injuries every week. Now Greg Newsome is out.
Yes.
They can't run the ball at all. They can't run the ball.
That is a problem.
At all.
That's true.
And to beat the Chiefs, it's just going to have to be Jameis doing stuff every week.
Well, you know who we didn't think could run the ball at all? The LA Chargers. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Justin
You're not
Herbert
going to make the case for the Browns, are you?
I like the Browns. I like the Browns quite a bit.
Oh, my God,
in fact,
House.
I
Jesus
think this is
Christ.
the Browns Super Bowl, and I think there's a
Super
decent
Bowl
chance
or what?
to validate their season. If they have a season where they beat the Ravens, they beat the Steelers, and they beat the Chiefs,
they're terrible.
They're not terrible. Their defense is
I watched them last week against Pittsburgh. They're terrible.
Those were short field, mistake driven scores. Like they held Russell Wilson to under 160 yards.
He didn't have
some of it
Pickens.
was short field. I understand, but this Chiefs situation is busted. And I said on one of our shows this week, I can't wait to find the opportunity to fade them in the playoffs because I promise you I'm going to fade them in the playoffs.
How about them in Cleveland just to win and beat Jameis Winston in a team that's missing a cajillion guys?
I'm not doing it. I can't endorse it. I think that the variance with Jameis.
You've been hanging out with JJ too much.
No, I just can't. That secondary for the Chiefs has no solution. You can't name the 5 of the guys that the Chargers had on the field catching passes last week, and it just didn't matter. They were all open. They were open every time. It's why the Chiefs had to run the Anaconda offense at the end of that game to win. They had to strangle the Chargers for 5 minutes and get to a field goal and kick that field goal. It was their only chance to win because the Chargers otherwise would have gone down the field and won.
Maybe the Chargers are good.
They could be, but you can't name the guys that were catching balls at tight end or receiver for the Chargers.
I could name them. Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnston.
Those guys stink. They're so bad. Disley got hurt. It was Stone. Smart
so
Stone.
You don't trust the Chiefs, and yet I heard you earlier today talk about how much you like the Cowboys in a fucking tease.
Wow.
The Cowboys are reprehensible.
Look.
You trust the Cowboys?
To getting 8.5 against the Carolina Panthers, yes.
I just need the Chiefs to beat the Browns. They can win by half a point, and I win the bet.
I hate it. You could say that about every team that the Chiefs, every bad team that the Chiefs have won by the tiniest, hair on their ass in each of these last. They're 1-7 against the spread. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know all those stats, but in a weird way, you're proving my point. The Browns have Jedi mind.
Sustainable.
But the Browns have Jedi mind trick people into thinking they're not terrible, and they are. They're not. 32nd in DVOA. They have a worse DVOA than Carolina, New England, Tennessee, Las Vegas, and the New York Giants. Worse than everybody.
That number has so much Deshaun Watson spilled all over it.
What about? Did you see what did Jameis do last week that you liked, other than just sail the ball over people's heads and make terrible plays?
They had the backdoor cover staring them in the face. It was right there.
Oh my God. The other tease I like is the Vikings against the Bears. Just because I'm tired of I'm tired of passing on Sam Darnold.
Now you're talking. You're talking. Yeah. And look, if you wanted to go ahead and grab my team and go from 7.5 down to 1.5 against Spencer Rattler.
I don't trust your team.
Spencer Rattler?
I don't trust your team.
The closest margin of victory.
I don't trust your 27th run defense against the Saints just running the ball like 200 times against you. Makes me nervous.
All right, fine.
I don't trust your team. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I'm not. I just wanted to put it out there. I'm not going to try and make the case.
Vikings -7 against the Bears. The Vikings' weakness is you can kind of throw at them, and the Bears are 30th pass.
That's a dead man walking team.
Minnesota
I very much like this.
4th in sacks, not to mention all the Flores blitz stuff. Chicago 32nd.
Yeah.
The only case for the Bears is just that they played the Vikings pretty well a month ago.
Yep.
But now that Darnold, Jefferson, Addison, they're all humming again. Did you see that there was a long video of Kirk Cousins saying goodbye to everybody in Minnesota after the game? Did you see this? I think I sent this to you.
You didn't, but I love the sound of this. I'm dying already.
It's a 4-minute video. All the Vikings, all their players, coaches stuck around in the field to say goodbye to him after the game. And
because his career's over?
No, they loved him. They loved him so much that it was just guy after guy coming over, hugging him. Hey, man, it's great to see you. He just seems like he was the most beloved teammate ever.
He's a gamer. I mean,
people love Kirk Cousins.
$200 million by being a gamer. Not very good, but a gamer.
So you're down on Vikings -7.
Oh, 100% down.
And what if I talked you into KC money, Minnesota
I'm
money.
not doing anything with Kansas City. I'm telling you right
KC
now.
money, Minnesota money, Seattle plus 8.5 is plus 150.
You can do that on your own. I'm not endorsing anything with
You're
the
really
Chiefs.
mad about it.
I'm not mad.
What is
I'm
it
just,
about the Ringer gambling show that the shitty teams and the bad quarterbacks are like fucking catnip for you guys? I don't get it.
I laid 3.5 points with the Chiefs on Sunday night, and they showed flaws that are unlike
I agree
flaws
with
that
all the
we've seen
flaws.
out of them. Yeah. So I'm out on them. They are super beatable. They keep telling us who they are. Every single week, they get down to a single moment, a single score, and they've been on the correct side of the outcome. I'm not betting on that. I'm not betting on that anymore. I'm done with the Chiefs.
So there's a Minnesota tease possibility with Seattle.
Okay. In.
I still like that Seattle minus 2.5 plus 154.
Great. Love it. No argument. I think that defense is super legit. Like Green Bay in Detroit got a version of a Detroit defense, and we were like, oh, Detroit, they're really banged up. This is going to be a hard spot for them. And they were gamers. It wasn't that Green Bay went out and flew all over them. But this Seattle defense is a different deal, and we're outdoors now. I respect Green Bay's outdoor acumen. I'm not suggesting that they're going to have a problem playing outdoors. It's just a different kind of situation, different speed.
All right. I think I know what we want to do for $1 million picks. All right, it's time. $1 million picks, week 15. We are staying away from Niners Rams tonight. As much as we usually like throwing a little something on the Thursday night if we can get the pot up in time. To me, it's just an abject stay away, Rams Niners. Staying away. So apologies to both of those teams. We did not want to wager on you tonight. Here's what we do want to do. And we're up $1.764 million. We won $551,000 last week, House.
Pretty good.
First one, Steelers. We looked at this all different ways. We thought about money line with the under. We thought about Steelers plus 4.5 on FanDuel is even odds, like all kinds of machinations. Both of us feel like this line is 2 to 2.5 points too high because the Steelers defense, how good it is.
Such a good defense.
Don't trust the Eagles passing offense.
Do not.
Love Mike Tomlin as an underdog.
Love.
The most underappreciated, discounted team of 2024, the Pittsburgh Steelers, plus 5.5 in Philly. We were putting $200,000 on that one, even though George, don't call me Carl Pickens, is not playing. So there you go. That's our first one. Second one, Lions, minus 2.5 at home against Josh Allen and the Bills. This is a straight backing of the Lions offense. We're going in eyes wide open. Could be a fun live hedge house near the end.
Yeah.
Bills down 14 late. Just jump on Josh. Try to middle it.
You have to get Sean McDermott out of there, but yes.
Who do you think is the best team right now? Just in general. Is it still the Lions for you, even with the defense?
Yes. Detroit. Detroit.
Yeah, that's how I feel. All right. Well, we get them under a field goal at home in a big game.
Great.
And by the way, the Bills don't necessarily need the game. They're either going to be the 2 seed or the 3 seed, unless KC loses in Cleveland this week. If you missed the first part of the pod, House wouldn't let me put KC in a teaser parlay, even though Cleveland's 32nd DVOA. Cleveland sucks. They're terrible.
I don't think
this seemed like a layup, and House threw his body in front of it. So I get to just send him MF or text if KC's up by 20. Next bet, Texans minus 2.5 at home against the Miami Dolphins, who came very close to losing Aaron Rodgers, who gave up a 300-point game or 300-yard game to Aaron Rodgers, which should get you kicked out of the league at this point. Texans minus 2.5, coming off a bye.
Still
winging the ball around.
Yeah, we have to see whether Teron Armstead's even able to go for Miami. Overtime game for Miami, all those extra plays. Houston off the bye, rested, and really ready to put their stamp on the back half of this season. They have a really tough schedule. They have to win a home game like this.
We are banking on this being a, hey, CJ Stroud, welcome back to the season game, combined with if the Jets had just taken care of business beating the Dolphins last week, there's no way this line would be minus 2.5. And we're grabbing Houston, 200K on that. And then we're putting a little teaser with Minnesota and Seattle.
Awesome.
Minnesota's -7. Seattle is +2.5 at home against Green Bay. So we'll nudge that up 6 points. We're putting $200K on that. We don't understand the Seattle line at all. Minnesota at home against Chicago. We believe in this Minnesota team. Still lingering, still hoping the Lions stumble and they can just hop up and grab the 1 seed. Sam Darnold, would you take him on the Commanders if you didn't have Daniels? I think you would.
Oh, if we didn't have Daniels, sure. He would immediately be one of the best quarterbacks the past 25 years in Washington.
I would take him on the Pats if we didn't have Drake May, the future of the NFL, on our team.
I understand.
I like him.
It's a great bounce back season.
And then we're going to do a little 50K parlay of the Pittsburgh money line combined with the Seahawks -2.5 on FanDuel, which is +142. You put those two together, +638.
That's juicy, baby.
Pittsburgh money line, Seahawks -2.5. We're going to put 50K on that. I really was trying to figure out a way to work Drake May into $1 million picks in Arizona because I think they actually might be dumb enough to beat Arizona this week, but we'll stay away. We don't need it.
Good job. Good job.
Those are the $1 million picks for week 15. House, we can see you on the Ringer Sunday pregame show. I might be stopping by.
Can't wait. Looking
Have you
forward
thought about
to it.
who's your underdog pick? Is it just going to be Pittsburgh, right?
It might be. I mean, one of the other guys might jump ahead of me, but there's a lot of great choices, including the Cleveland Browns.
I hope you're dumb enough to take them.
We'll see.
You know who I was looking at as a possible underdog? I wouldn't bet it, but just for if you're forced to take an underdog for that segment, the Riddler and the Raiders going against Atlanta in Vegas. Doesn't it feel like the Raiders have one more dumb win in them?
It's the funniest outcome for sure. It would be hilarious. And I do think, the defense for the Raiders will be playing because they know they're really auditioning for the next head coach of the Raiders. They're not playing for that guy any longer.
Yeah, but I thought that one jumped out to me. Seahawks are somehow an underdog. I'm sure JJ will take them. I don't mind that Pats as an underdog pick, though. Anyway, House, great to see you. Enjoy the NBA Cup this weekend. I will see you next week.